highly favored.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
I know they are smiling.
Thank you.
Now tell us about yourself.
My name is Joel Kobia, or Tijo. I'm a born-again Christian. Love Christ so much as my Lord and Savior. I do consultancy in the area of leadership and also strategy. And it's a great pleasure to be here, the Uchao show. I've been watching on the side, and you're doing an amazing job.
We are here to discuss about financial management and specifically targeting small businesses, because it's a weak area amongst the people that do what would be said small businesses. Mambo ya kuuza maziwa, mayai, kuuza nguo, maybe something they consider it is small, and maybe the role of financial management is preempted from their conversation. And we have seen greatly the power of financial management as you are going to be highlighting it. Maybe briefly, by a start, what is financial management and why is it important for small businesses?
So financial management is all about taking care of the pennies, taking care of the little shillings that come in, and also taking care of where is that money going to come from, and how do you spend that money when it is within your confines. They tell us to do the great things while they're still small, and the difficult things while they're still easy, because the journey of 1,000 miles will definitely begin with a single step. So as an entrepreneur, it's good for us to really know that there's something called income, and there's also something called expenses or expenditure. Yes. And how you deal with the income lines and how you deal with the expenditure line is going to make your business either progress or retrogress. So it's up to you on a very daily basis to make sure that you're in firm control of all the income sources. Are they doing the best that they can be doing? You're also in firm control over the expenditure lines. Are they the lines that ought to be in terms of your spending? Are you spending the way you're supposed to be spending? Are you earning from the sources that you ought to be earning from? Yes.
Is it important for everybody to do financial management? If I'm doing a business of less than 1,000, I can simply say I have everything in my mind. Memory, RAM.
That's a good one. So it's very, very, very important for you to take total control of the income and also of the expenses. And this one is not necessarily for accountants. It's for every person who receives any form of money. It can be in terms of donations, it can be in terms of salary, it can be in terms of the money that you get from your business. So one of the critical things that you and I ought to do all the time is to embrace what they call accountability. And accountability is making sure that you are directly responsible for every coin that comes in. You're directly responsible for every coin that goes out. So it's all about looking for a piece of paper and a pen, in order for you to say, today I've sold 20 eggs. Today I've sold 5 liters of milk at this much. Today I've sold 10 sweets. Today I've sold 20 cabbages, and each cabbage I was selling at this much. Then once you've done that, it's good for you to really keep your records at the end of every single day to make sure that there's a good track of the income side. It's also good for you to look at the expenditure side, whereby you're saying, now that I've gotten this much today, 5,000 or 1,000 or 800 shillings, how did I make use of that money? Maybe I paid electricity today, maybe I paid some fare. Hizo vitu zilibebwa na tuktuk. Zikaletwa mpaka kwa duka langu. Ama kuna mtu wa boda ambaye niweza kuniletea hapo. Or there's that person who supplied loans and all that. It's also good for you to note how much came in terms of the stock and what was the value of that stock. And it's also good to come up with a budget. A budget is whereby you want to start with the end in mind. And you're telling yourself today, how much do I need in terms of stock? So I start off by looking at my shop, and I want to find out, on a normal basis, I sell 10 loaves. How many loaves do I have in my shop today? So I want to make sure that I'm also doing my stock take. I'm doing my projections so that I don't disappoint any customer who comes to my way. They are coming for loaves, namwambia pole zimeisha, and maybe this is the 5th customer, and we have almost a whole day ahead of us. So without record keeping, every entrepreneur is going to be grappling in darkness because you don't know how many packets of milk you're supposed to buy. You don't know how many loaves you're supposed to stock. You don't know how many watermelons you're supposed to be stocking. So record keeping in a great way is going to be a very big boost so that you are able to make rightful decisions at any given point in time. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much. In your 10 years experience in this field of financial management, what would you highlight as the biggest challenges you have seen in financial management for small businesses?
Okay. One of the greatest challenges that entrepreneurs go through is the space of record keeping. Yes. At some points, I ran some entrepreneurship program, and we give our students 100 shillings, and they are supposed to make at least 20 or 30,000 after 3 months.
Wow.
And some bring 20,000, others bring 15,000, others 40,000 shillings. Just from 100 shillings. But one of the things that we always push these entrepreneurs to do is to make sure that they are doing record keeping every single day. Yeah, and I demand from them that they have to send records of what they did in terms of their time, and of course what they did in terms of their money, in terms of their cash flows. So record keeping, I would say, is a tall order for many people, both at the personal level and even at the business level. They want to tell themselves, after all, I know I sell 20 loaves, or after all, I know I sell 20 liters of milk. Why should I keep records? And unfortunately, if you trust your mind so much on most occasions, you find there are so many things that go through your fingertips. Something that was very fresh in your mind, which is an obvious thing today, tomorrow might not be an obvious. So it's very good for you to make sure that you do record keeping. Number two, it's all about consultancy. Most of us want to reinvent the wheel. There are so many people who have done a lot of research with regard to the kind of business that you're doing. They tell us that success leaves traces wherever it has been. And if you do what successful people do, you'll get what successful people get. So there's something that we call in economics the learning curve. And you find so many people are wasting too much of time trying to teach themselves things which they would have learned by sitting with a friend. The word of God says you have not because you ask not. So how about you looking for an individual who has already invented the wheel and you just copy and paste? Yes, because success leaves traces wherever it has been. So this brings an aspect of continuous and never-ending improvement. You want to keep learning every single day. You want to ask yourself, what mistakes have I done today? You want to sit down with someone who is doing much better than you. It can be a mentor, it can be a career coach, it can be a business coach, someone who is going to guide you on that. I know this might be a bit expensive, but you have people in your church, you have people in your neighborhood, you have a friend, all those people in your phone book. What are they doing there, my brother, my sister? Yeah, why not call that person and tell them, I'm having this problem, I need help. Yes, so in French they say, oh, c'est cool, ask for help, ask for help. Look for help. Yes. Then the other problem that most people have is the aspect of communication and networking. You know, business is grown through networking. And we have so many people starting off very many good businesses. That lady has started a very nice boutique. She's selling some beautiful, wonderful handbags. She's selling some beautiful, wonderful shoes. But no one knows about it. Yeah, no one knows about it. They're just in your room. You've just brought a whole container. It is in your bed sitter. And no one knows that you have these things. So how about you networking? How about you interacting with others? How about you telling a friend to tell a friend? Najua wahenga wanasema chema chajiuza kibaya chajitembeza. It doesn't mean that if you go out there and tell people what you have, it is not something that is worthwhile. So in your circles, those WhatsApp groups that you have for your church or for your neighbors, for your former schoolmates, what are you doing in terms of publicizing exactly what you have? So don't just keep quiet about it. Go out there and share it. The last one I'll talk about, because there are so many, is about cash flows. And with regard to cash flows, there are so many people who don't know how to manage their monies. And you find someone has sold stock worth 1,000 today, and they are so happy. That is what they are telling themselves, this is my profit. Yeah. And someone wants to tithe from the 1,000 shillings, forgetting that there is the working capital. That there is the place that they're supposed to buy the next set of loads, the next packets of milk, and all those other stocks that they're supposed to be doing. So without you really understanding this concept of my profit versus cash flows, then it becomes very hard for you to get it right. And so you find people taking their families out. Yeah, on the basis of the money that they've gotten from their business. And that is not your profit. Maybe you've not done your income minus expenses so that you're able to strike the balance. So within no time, you find the business has come to a halt. Yeah, it has been grounded. Why? Because there's no money. And on account of that, they get themselves into debt trap. You borrow this person so that you can pay the other. And of course, if you get into debt trap, then it's not business as usual.
Wow, thank you so much for those highlights. They are wonderful. And what you're talking about shows a need of skills that are essential to a small business owner.
Yeah.
And just before we get there, allow nikurudishe nyuma kidogo to a point you've talked about consultation and communication, because that is a root problem, especially in our Kenyan business culture.
Yeah.
Kwanza huwa tunakataa kushare business ideas kwa sababu nasemanga nikienda kuuliza itaibiwa. Itaibiwa. So you get to see most people like doing things their own way and alone, and wanasemanga keep it secret until everything is established.
Yeah.
Kindly take us through that, and how can we avoid such kind of a trap so that we can leverage into a network?
Yeah. That's a great question. In my first book, Between Me and My Exploits, I've quoted a gentleman called Joseph Penses, and he says that to teach is to learn twice. Yeah, to teach is to learn twice. And there's no one who is forced to learn much more about a subject than a person who is forced to teach it. So Eric, if you want to become a great driver, just try coaching someone how to drive. The moment you teach someone how to drive, or coach or guide someone how to drive, you become a better driver. If you want to become a better and greater media personality, the easiest thing for you is to look for 1 or 2 or 3 people, so that they can sit under your pupillage or under your mentorship, because they're going to ask you questions that maybe you've not thought about, and that is going to force you into research. That is going to force you into continuous and never-ending personal development. So it's more blessed to give than to receive. Yeah, it's more blessed to give than to receive. So how about you making sure that you don't keep those secrets to yourself? Yeah, they say that birds of a feather flock together. You're not the only one doing that business. You're not the only one in that space. So could you be having peers, individuals who are able to check and test for you whether you've gotten it right? When you're doing premarital counseling, you find sometimes before someone settles to say that this is a gentleman I'm going to marry, or this is a husband I'm going to marry, the lady I'm going to marry, they always talk to a friend. Hebu niangalilie. How is this guy? Yeah? And you might find a friend who knows you, who believes in you, wishes you well, telling you, boss, I'm blind, boss. In your hot soup, don't dare go that direction. And if you're not in the habit of consulting and asking other people to check you out, that means you're not ready for accountability. You might find yourself making so many mistakes. Yeah, that's why we have mirrors, because mirrors, when we look at ourselves in the mirror, they're supposed to tell us this is an improvement point, a change here, a twist here, so that when you face the world, you're facing them with a beautiful, wonderful smile and a good look. Yeah, so the same also applies in business. It's not good for us to just keep those things a secret. Why not look for someone who loves you, who believes in you, who wishes you well, and who is truthful to you, so that you can check out 1 or 2, 3, 4 things with them. You might find someone telling you, boss, this is not your line. Or the kind of way that you're doing it, I tried that 20 years or 70 years ago and it didn't work. Yeah, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So it's not good for us to keep those secrets to ourselves and hope that no one copies us. And of course, that is what we call scarcity mentality. You're afraid that someone is going to copy it. Yes, but you've also copied it from someone else. That idea, most likely you're not the one who has invented it. Yeah, you've picked it from someone. So how about you looking at someone who wishes you well and try to compare notes? And if someone comes to you and asking you to ask you how you've made it and how they can also get to where they are, you don't just telling them it's God. Ni Mungu tu, ni Mungu tu. Ni Mungu. I don't know. Idea wahara hii. Yeah, it's okay. It's God who got you there. But what are those pointers? What are those few things that you did in order for you to get there. Yeah. So usifiche white. It's good for you to make sure that at least you're pulling someone up. And I came to realize the moment you pull someone up, yeah, in business, in that area, that sector that you're in, somehow God is also going to send others who are also going to pull you up.
Wow.
You can't pull others down without going down. You also can't pull others up without going up.
Wow, wow. This is the home of the truth, and the truth that shall set you free. It has been called out right there. Scarcity mentality. So consult on matters. Be open. Na kama umebarikiwa, don't just settle. Pull someone up pia wewe, so that somebody can also rise. Tusizoe hii mambo ya kukaa chini sana sana. Talk to us about what are these essential skills that every small business owner needs to have in regards to financial management.
Okay. Wonderful. So one of the greatest skills that every entrepreneur needs to have is the planning skill. You know, your business does not have a mind, does not have a head. It uses your head. Yes. So if you're not organized as a person, then the business is not going to be organized. If you're not smart as a person, then the business is also not going to be smart. So how good have you been in terms of planning skills? Planning skills. And planning skills, you're talking about goal setting. I always say that every goal starts off as a desire. Yeah. So once you have that desire, come up with options. Once you have options, come up with a way of prioritizing. Once you've come up with a way of prioritizing, then get to the necessity and you tell yourself, this is the best that I'll go for. So when it comes to starting that business, planning means that I want to start by evaluating myself. Who am I as a person? What are my gifts? What are my talents? What are my special abilities as an entrepreneur? So if I'm that person who is not very good in marketing, I know I'm starting off from the wrong footing because I might need someone who has got a strength in the area of my weakness. Yeah. So I want to do self-evaluation. I'm doing planning. Then at that point in time, I also want to do what is called feasibility study. Now in feasibility study, I want to check out the area within which I want to start my business. I want to start selling loaf, or I want to start selling onions. I want to start selling milk. How many other people in that area are selling milk? Because you don't want to get into a flooded space whereby the 10 shops surrounding you are selling homogeneous products. The very products that you are selling are the same products that everyone else is selling. Then I also want to study the individuals, the customer base that I'm dealing with. So I'm in an Islam area and I want to sell sausages, and all my customers maybe are coming from that particular religion. Do they consume what I sell? Yes. You are in a place filled with so many churches, Christians, and you want to open bars in that area. Is it going to thrive? Yeah. So it's good for me to do a feasibility study and really understand this is the place that I want to start it, and these are the people that I'm targeting, and these are the products that I feel that are not being offered in that particular place. So if I don't do it that way, then I'm going to get it wrong from the onset. Then in terms of planning, I want to ask myself financial. How much money is required? How much money is required? In entrepreneurship, there are those businesses that you can start without money. Yeah, you can start for free. For example, you find sometimes it's drizzling, it's raining, and all of a sudden in Nairobi or that area of Kiambu, you find people selling so many umbrellas around, and you wonder, okay, when is nameanga kwa ground? Where are all these umbrellas coming from? All of a sudden, and there it's all about social capital. Are you trustworthy as an individual? Some of these individuals talk to their friends, they deliver their IDs into that shop. And they're given 50 umbrellas to go and sell. Yeah, and they agree on the margin. Once you've sold, bring back this much. Yeah, and it happens. How much did they spend in terms of capital? Zero. So many entrepreneurs are held back because they say, I'm looking for capital. I'm looking for money to start business. You can start with borrowed assets. Yeah, if you want to do shooting, you can borrow that camera from a friend. So are you trustworthy as an individual? So I want to sit down and really come up with a budget of how much is required in order for me to move from point A and go to point B. Then apart from the planning skills, I'm also looking at my social skills. Yeah, my social skills, my interacting skills, my networking skills. How good am I at really interacting with others? Because as an entrepreneur, there's no way that you go far without you having the social capital. Yeah, looking for ways and means of allowing your customers to become part of your network in terms of bringing you customers. For example, I've sold to you a very nice handbag or a wallet, and you're very happy about it. What do I do to you? What do I tell you as a friend? Yeah, do I just let you go, or I'm able to tell you to tell a friend who is going to tell another friend? So in business, in the world of entrepreneurship, it's very hard for you to make it without networks. So they tell us your networks define your network. Yeah. So show me who you interact with, and I'll tell you who you are. Yeah. So in terms of networking, very, very critical as an entrepreneur. Then the other one is record keeping. I think we mentioned that earlier on. Yeah, it's good for us to really inculcate the discipline. So self-discipline comes in very, very handy. Yeah. So when you tell yourself, this is what I'm going to do today, do you find yourself doing it? And you find, especially for those people who are self-employed, discipline comes in very critical in several aspects. And the way you are disciplined is also going to define how fast your business is going to progress. Your customers expect you to be opening your shop at exactly 8. That is the promise that you've given them. You find someone saying, leo kumenyesha, mimi sijisikii kuamka, and the person is not waking up. Yeah? They are opening the shop at 10. Then the other day they're opening at 7:30, the other day 10, the other one 8:30. And of course you're not very consistent. If you're not consistent, then you're giving your customers option. Other options. Someone was going to come into your shop to buy some bread or loaf. Yeah, they found it closed at 6:30. Do you think they're going to sit there praying and fasting, waiting for you until 10 so that they can take their breakfast? It's going to be very hard. And so you're giving them other options to look for that particular product. So it's good for us to really have our promise. So what am I promising my customers? I'm opening at this time, I'm closing at this other time. We're talking about consistency, we're talking about discipline. Now, when it comes to record keeping, that's very discipline is also required. You find that some who sell on credit, yeah, nunua mkate leo, alafu utalipa mwisho wa mwezi, or come for milk today, tomorrow you'll pay on Sunday, or weekly or monthly, whatever duration. Now, if you don't keep records, proper records, it's going to be very hard for you to make anything in your business. Because you can't trust your mind that you're going to remember all those liters of milk that you've given out, all those loaves that you sold on credit. So in terms of record keeping, how good are you? In terms of the money that comes in and the money that goes out, how good are you in terms of keeping those records? Then the other one is good for us to make sure that as individuals, we're working very hard in terms of prior planning. I talked about planning, but I'm also bringing about prior planning. And prior planning here, you're thinking about eventualities that might happen in your business. For example, in case I don't sell as I'm used to selling, do I have money for rent? In case I'm not able to sell the way I'm used to selling, do I have money for transport? Do I have money for electricity? And you find if you don't look at the mega expenses, especially the ones, the major overheads, especially the ones that come towards the end of the month that you pay one off, you might find yourself getting held up. And this is what triggers debt to come your way. And you find many people are not very guided or disciplined in terms of debt management. And you find many people want to go to Shylocks. You want to borrow at a place that you're paying 10% or 20% or 30%. But the margins that you're making from your business are very little as compared to the much that you're supposed to be paying that debt. And you find some have got their assets confiscated. Unakuta kushonia anakuja ama mtu anakuja anachukua vitu zako zote, umenizoea hii biashara yako, unachukuanga vitu na ulipi, something of the sort. And you find yourself locked up, yeah, and the business is not able to progress. So in terms of, are you a person of integrity? Are you a person who is able to keep your word? Or you're the person who thinks that you're very sharp, you're very clever, you can play around with people? And of course, that is what will go round. Yeah, these are the same people that you're targeting as your customers. These are the individuals that have got their relatives also doing business with you. So it's also very good to make sure that we are people of integrity. We're able to keep our word. And in case you borrowed money from someone, you're able to go straight on and tell them, I borrowed this and I'm going to pay it within this and that duration. Yeah.
Wow. that has been excellent. There's something you mentioned about the business does not have a brain, the business does not have a mind, so it's going to use the mind that you have.
Yes.
So clearly, inakaa ni kama these two things cannot work together when they are competing for the same resources. There needs to be a separation, for example, between business finances and personal finances.
Sure.
How do you draw that line so that you can effectively manage the two?
Now, in the world of accountancy, the business is regarded to as a legal entity. In other words, it has its name, it can be sued, and it can also sue under its own name, and it can also enter into transactions or legal contracts under its own name. So the business is different from the person. In other words, we talk about legal personality. The business is a person just like you, and it's good for you to respect its space. In as much as you are the one running the business, you are different from the business. And when you talk about that, then it's good for you to realize that it's good for you to have a separate bank account. Your bank account as Eric or as Tijo should not be the same bank account as that for business. Yeah. If I'm having an M-Shwari for Tijo, I should also strive to open a different M-Shwari for the business. I know in sole proprietorship, they say that the business and the proprietor or the owner are one. But it's good for us to really create that distinction. Then you only come in at the point of starting the business in terms of bringing in the money, which we call capital. Yeah. Once you put in your capital, the next thing that you're supposed to put in is your intellect in terms of day-to-day management. But that money is no longer yours. The capital that you put in, the 1 million is no longer your money. The 50,000 that you put in is no longer your money. It now belongs to a whole new entity, a whole new personality. So it's good. Once I've put that 50,000, I don't come tomorrow and say I will demand my money. It's good for you to have a conversation with the business to really find out when are you likely to pay me the money. Every business has got something that is called payback period. I started my business last year. This business is going to take 5 years before it breaks even. It's going to take 20 years. It's going to take 1 month. It's going to take 50 months before it breaks even. Breaking even, I mean, the income or all the monies that I spent in starting the business are going to be recouped or recovered within that duration of 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. So at that point in time, the business owner agrees with the business that every single month, I want you to be paying me so much. Or you can agree with the business, don't pay me a coin for the next 10 months, but after the 10th month, I demand to be getting a salary, or I demand to be getting some dividends from the business. So it's good for me to separate my money from the business money. Then the other bit, very, very critical, it's good for me to really look at income. The income that comes in is also not the same as the profit that comes from the business. I've sold a car worth 1.2 million today. I'm in the business of selling cars, for example. How much markup or how much profit am I making from sale of one car? It's good for me to know that when I sell one car, I make 50,000. So that I just don't sell one car, then I want to take my family to Honolulu, for a holiday, because I'm finding there's 1.3 million in my account. It's good for me not to forget that cash flow, the money that has been made from the business is very different from the profits. So I've come up with a way of knowing from every item is the much I'm making. So in that kiosk, nikiuza mkate napata 5 shillings. Nikiuza maziwa napata 2 shillings. Nikiuza peremende napata 1 shilling. At the end of the day, I'm able to have a rough estimate of how much I've made in terms of profit. Because if I don't have the 20 loaves and I don't have the 40 sweets that I started with, it tells me that per sweet I'm making this much, per loaf I'm making this much. So I'm able, in a nutshell, to tell how much I'm making. Then on the other hand, it's also good for me to be tracking on the expenses again. We talked about that a while ago. It's good for me to be keeping a track on the expenses. So at the end of the week, I want to check my income, how much came in, compare that with my expenses, how much went out, and I'm able to tell this is the profit. This is the profit that I've been left with. And of course, I'm also able to tell, per milk I make this much, per sweet I make this much, so that at the end of that week, I'm able to tell this money is what belongs to me. Some of us, especially the Christians, we make a mistake of tithing on the cash flow. Yeah, I've done sales of 40,000 shillings, and at the end of the week, I want to bring to that envelope, to that church, to plant. Yeah, in terms of tithe, giving to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and God what belongs to God. I want to put 4,000 shillings. I've sold 40,000. I want to bring 4,000 shillings. And you find most of the Christian businesses, some of them might not thrive. Someone goes to the bank, they get a loan of 1 million, and they want to tithe 100,000 shillings. You only tithe from your increase. Yeah, you only tithe from your increase. That 1 million is not your increase. That is not your money, my brother. That is not your money. Yes. So once you've invested that money and made the profit, it's from that profit that you're supposed to be doing your tithing. So it's good for us to really separate the cash flows from the profits.
Wow.
Yes. Now, it's at this point in time, looking at my expenses, I can agree with myself, because the business is making 40,000 per month or 20,000 per month. It's good for me to come up with a budget. How am I going to prioritize the much that is being made by the business? And it's at that point in time, I want to agree with the business that for now, you can start paying me 5,000 per month, or you can start paying me 50,000 per month, or 500 shillings per day, something of the sort, so that at the end of this duration, I'm able to get it. Then at the end of the year, you can also do your maths and say that at the end of every year, depending on the match that I made, I can give myself a dividend of 100,000 or 10% or 20% or 30%, such like. But without you sitting down to really evaluate your income and expenses, becomes very hard. The last one is about your payback period. Payback period. And payback period, we are looking at the duration by which the business ought to have paid me money. And you find some people are starting businesses, especially unakuta mtu amejengewa nyumba, rentals and all that. You've gotten a loan of 6 million. And you are getting rent from your units of 60,000 per month. So if you say 6 million, divide by 60,000, that is going to take you almost 100 months. No, almost 1,000 months. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so 6 million divided by 60,000 shillings, and you find it's taking too much of time. You might find that piece of land or that investment is paying you after 20 years, it's paying you after 30 years, it's paying you after 10, 15 years. So as you start business, it's also good for you to calculate your payback period. By when will I have been able to recoup or get back the money that I invested in that business? So if you don't do some of these simple things, then you might find yourself going round and round in circle. Unasema hairudishi, and you close that one, you go to another one, hairudishi, you close that one and go to the other one, hairudishi. So it's good for us to really do the math and get it right as we start off.
Wow, that is how you separate your personal life and business, and they are two separate entities. And again, cash flow is not profit. How do we avoid the frustration that we feel when we start businesses and they fail, especially where we are unable to separate businesses and ourselves? Give us some tips.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln, one of the founding presidents of America, says that if I'm given 6 hours to cut a tree, I would take 4 hours to sharpen my axe. So on most occasions, we get it wrong because, number one, we don't take time to sharpen our axe. It's good for me to really do some very good research with regards to the business that I'm getting myself into. Then number two, it's good for me to learn perseverance because they tell us Rome was never built in a day. Once I've done my feasibility study, I've done my research, I've equipped myself, I've done everything that ought to be done. Of course, Proverbs 16:3, I commit my plans to God that I may be successful in carrying them out. Then the other thing is to pay the price of patience. Yeah, greatness pays the price that is called the test of time. So I need to remain in it, not telling myself that it has failed, I need to move away. Then the other thing, it's good for me to get into a group of individuals that are doing what I'm doing, because I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I can borrow a few tips here, a few tips there from exactly what is happening, right? Then the other bit is with regard to capital. Yeah, many people fail in business because they are not well capitalized. They don't have what we call working capital. Yes, you had some good capital in terms of the money that you're going to start with, but in terms of money to operate that business, you've bought the dryer for the salon, you bought the sink and all those other kind of things. You've done very nice artwork and everything within the building, but you don't have money to hire the salonists, or to buy those chemicals and all those other kind of things. So you find capital is good, but also working capital is very, very critical. And of course, working capital is the lifeline of business, because you can't do without that money being there on a every single basis. And of course, the other thing is to outsource the skill that you don't have. If you don't know how to do bookkeeping, come on, speak to someone out there. We have so many young people who have done some of these short courses. They know how to do it, but they don't have anyone to give them an opportunity to practice, even for free. So why not visit your youth pastor or someone in the neighborhood and ask, how can I be of help? And you'll be amazed. You might get someone. Then in terms of marketing, we also have so many young people out there struggling. Where can I get somewhere to practice my marketing skills? You can call 2 or 3, ask them to call their friends, and they can do a lot of marketing for you. So we have not because we ask not.
Wow. So we just ask.
We ask.
They are going to receive the help.
Yes.
Kindly help us. Give us the help of small businesses budgeting and also effective ways of tracking our expenses.
Okay. And so one of the first things in budgeting, it's good for us to know that we don't just budget for expenses. We also budget for income. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's good for you to come up with a line of all the income lines that you have. I make money from my tuk-tuk, I make money from my rental, I make from my kiosk, I make from ABCD. Come up with all those lists. Then project how much do I expect from this line, from this business, from this other line, from this other business. Come up with a projection. Then against every business, come up with the associated expenses. For the tuk-tuk or for the Uber, I need to be doing servicing once every this duration. For the this other one, I need ABCD, I need my stock and all that. I have a worker that I need to be paying this much. So come up with a good understanding of all that. Then having said that, you might need some tools like Excel, whereby you want to keep a sheet, an Excel sheet for every line of business. So this is for tuk-tuk, this is for my maize kibanda, this is for my salon and all that. And you want to make sure that every single day you are recording the income against the budget. You're also recording expenses against the budget. If you feel that is a bit sophisticated, you can also get the exercise book, the one that you are talking about, the 32 squared exercise book, and draw those lines, and do the budget there, and against every budget item put the dates, so that if you spend anything on that line, 50 shillings up 1,000, and at the end of the week do your maths. At the end of the week for the other one, do maths. And of course it can't happen if you don't have the discipline of putting it on record every single day. Now some of us come up with budgets that don't work. You told yourself, I'm going to spend this much on entertainment or this much on transport, but tunakuta it has overshot. It happens like that because you don't do evaluation. So after doing it first month, check the variance. That variance is the actual versus the budgeted. And you'll ask yourself critical questions. How come this one has gone off? Or how come this one is under, this one is over? Then the next budget that you prepare, make sure that it is in line with the actuals. Almost in line with the actuals. If there are any areas that you're supposed to cut on some expenses or do something so that some income can go up, then you also do that. It becomes very, very critical. Then the last thing for the budget is a budget is lifeless without you recording. So record keeping must be done on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, without saying I'll do for the whole week on Saturday. You might forget. So in due course of the day, you can set alarms so that it tells you pause, do some bit of recording. Even before you go to bed, you want to call yourself to a meeting and make sure that you've done that recording. If you have a staff at the shop, make sure that every 6 hours, maybe they are giving you an update of what they have done in terms of the record, how much has come in, how much has gone out. Now, if you're able to do your records right, then you're able to mitigate several risks, because you might find you're in that kona hiyo ya M-Pesa and you have a float of imefika 500,000 shillings. Is there a threshold pesa ikifika inafaa kupelekwa bank, or something is supposed to be done so that you're not overly exposed? So without keeping proper records, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. Yeah, without doing that budgeting, then we are grappling in darkness, because we won't tell whether we are doing well or we are supposed to improve on some area.
So a business cannot do away without a budget, without record keeping. As you have used the word lifeless.
Yes, it's a lifeline. It becomes lifeless.
Lifeless.
Yes.
Let us talk about business debts for small businesses. What are the effective strategies of managing business debts?
So first, I'll start by saying debt is good. I know it's recorded somewhere. You shall lend and not borrow. That's okay. Yeah, debtor is the slave to the lender. That's very true. That is very true. Yeah. Now you want to start off a business that is going to cost you. Maybe you want to do an Uber business, for example, and you want to buy that car at 650 or 800,000. How much do you have now? Probably you have zero. Yeah, and probably you might be having a friend or you know somewhere that you can get 800,000 shillings. Which you can be paying 20,000 per month or 15,000 shillings per month. Is that bad? It's not bad, because our debt, in essence, catapults you to your future. It causes you to get that which you would have gotten after 10 years today. And if you started saving 20,000 every month, how many months would you take? And what will you be doing those months? Yeah. So debt is good. Debt is only good as long as it is helping you to service it. Yeah, it's able to serve it itself. Debt is also good if it helps you to bring in money in terms of income. So if that debt is helping you to bring income and it's able to service itself without you selling your asset, selling your bed or sufuria in order for you to pay it, then debt is good. Debt is also bad. Debt is bad when it is not planned for. Unakuta simu yako SMS has come, you now qualify for 35,000 shillings. Unakuta mtu wako ana a way of spending it, but they say, oh, that is God. Niwacha nichukue ndaenda kufikiria. And you find there's nothing as dangerous as nameless money, because whatever name it's called, it says yes. So don't get debt on the basis of I'm projecting that in case an idea comes, I will. Wengine wanaomba debt inakaa kwa account, wanasijua naeka money market, that is not real. Because money market is giving you 9%. This debt you're paying 12%, 15%, 20%. Of course, you're not wise otherwise. Yeah, if you go that route. So in terms of debt, it's good for you to first and foremost track your cash flows, see how much you're making at the end of the month, and then prioritize. Prioritize from the most expensive to the one that is least expensive. So those ones that are very pressing in terms of interest, you're paying high interest, start by giving them higher priority. Yeah, don't allow yourself to stay with them for very long. Sometimes we are given loans that you're told pay after 10 years or 7 years, and we find people paying very little money. But at the long run, if you do a summation of the interest, it's very, very, very expensive. So number one, record your debt. Number two, evaluate your debt in terms of the one that is most expensive to the one that is least expensive. Then also look at the urgency. There are some people who will give you 1,000 shillings, but they won't give you peace. Atiere, kumbuka pesa yangu. They won't give you peace. Yeah, sumbua kabisa. So those individuals, they should also be prioritized, because as an entrepreneur, you need peace of mind. Lipa au mwachane now, or you get money from somewhere else, you pay them so that at least that noise is backed off. Yeah? Then the other thing is communicate to your debtors. Communicate to your debtors. For now, I'm not able to settle this, but allow me next month. But once you've committed, it's good for you to make sure that you have kept your word. Then sometimes we have assets. You have a piece of land somewhere that is very prime. You know you can sell it and get 2 million or 1 million, and you have a debt that has been disturbing you for so long of 6 million. Why keep praying and fasting for God to give you money, and He has already given you money? Why not offset that debt from that other one, especially if the interest rate is very, very, very high. Yeah, so look for ways and means of fast tracking some of those debts. Then the other one, accelerate the debt, especially the ones that are most expensive. It could be a standing order is going through of 15,000 of 20,000, but in case you do a business, or you do a deal and get 50,000 that you're not expecting, that is not for celebrating or for going to invest. That is for fast tracking some of those debts. Enda kwa banka mwambie reduce my debt by 50,000 or by 100,000 shillings, the extra money that you've gotten. Now the moment you do that, interest goes down and the principal goes up. Yeah, and of course becomes very, very, very good for you as an entrepreneur. So debt is good, debt is bad. How you manage it is what is going to either make or break. But the last thing I'll say on that, it's good for you to really evaluate your cash flows. If you feel that your current cash flows are not able to meet your debts, then it's good for you to look up and ask yourself, how do I reduce my expenses? Once you reduce your expenses to a reducible minimum, the next thing is to look at your income lines. What else can you do so that you can earn more? So if you can't go low in terms of your expenses, come up with ways and means of going up in terms of your income, so that at least you're able to get a buffer, profits that are going to help you to really settle these debts. But don't pray for the death of the individuals that you owe money. Yeah?
Your debtors.
Yeah, don't pray for them to be destroyed by a thunderstorm or by some fire or some bad things. Yeah, just pray for their progress, for their prosperity. Don't pray and wish them evil, because sometimes you give and it comes back to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together.
Absolutely. Actually, talk to us about how can we improve cash flows. How can we improve cash flows in small businesses?
Yeah. So cash flows, again, we are talking about the money that you use in the day-to-day running. So one of the easiest ways of making sure that you've improved on your cash flows is making sure that you've done the tracking so that you eliminate the unwanted expenses. Yeah, it's also looking at the business. What is the potential? Do what we call SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Connect your strengths to opportunities. Ask yourself, what can I do with my strengths so that I can earn more? You might be earning 70,000, but through the strength that you have, you're supposed to be earning 200,000 shillings. So what can you do today with your strength in order for you to earn more? So the moment you do that, cash flows are going to improve. And of course, the record keeping, making sure that you're not doing what they call drawing. Drawing is whereby you come to the business and get 50,000 today, you get 20,000 tomorrow. Be disciplined. Yeah, live within your means. Yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew. That's what they say.
More than you can chew. Before we get to a success story of the whole of this discussion that we are having here this morning, because we are talking about small businesses and big money. That is the way you can transform your small business to big money. Talk to us briefly about how someone, for example, the way you are saying about cash flow, how a small business owner can use the data that they have through studying of the budgeting, through the study of the cash flow, the way they can use that data for growth.
They tell us that evaluation is the food for champions. Yeah, evaluation is food for champions. So that information that you've been keeping in terms of your budget, in terms of recording cash flows every single day, the income, the expenses, becomes very critical only if you are able to have a meeting. So you are alone, yes, as an entrepreneur. You can sit with a person who knows more than you and tell them, this is the income that I'm making, these are the expenses that I'm making. What do you think I can do? Is there any area that you think I can improve on? Yes. Then you also want to play around with data, what we call data analytics. Most of the thriving institutions, especially the banks, they have a department solely set apart for data analytics. Kazi yao ni kuangalia how much came, how much went out, and to play around with the figures. So if we can also play around with data in terms of data analytics, then we are going to make the right decisions. For example, I've been selling 20 loaves, but watu wanakujanga 20, wengine kuuliza loaf. It's good for me to record that, that there could be need for me to increase my stock of this. I bought this item, I've stayed with it in the shop for the last 1 year. No one is buying, dead stock. That tells me don't buy that again.
Buy that
so without me studying the data that I have, then it's going to be very hard for me to make appropriate and informed decisions. So don't just do that record keeping and just be happy that you did it. Call yourself to a meeting at the end of every week. Yes, at the end of every month. Then ask yourself, what should I stop doing? What should I continue doing? What should I do different? The areas that you feel you don't have any advice on the way forward, look for help. There's help that is surrounding us.
But the data we have is gold, and we should not just sit on it.
Yes.
Study the records, they are going to help you even synergize more and your business even to be more agile and even move forward. Talk to us about a success story of a small business that has done financial management and it has succeeded.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of consultancy. In fact, that's what I do from morning to evening. And I've worked with so many entrepreneurs, individuals who are starting from zero. Yes. And I would say I gave that illustration of whereby we've given 100 shillings to start business, and we've guided them on how do you start, how do you come up with ideation, which business are you going to start, yes, what are the strengths that you have as an individual, what are the weaknesses that you have as an individual, what strengths can we connect, what opportunities can we connect with the strengths, and they've done that. We've done the record keeping, and I've seen things work. There are those who have also been held in debt trap, and we've come up with a way of evaluating to see how it can be done. At the personal level, I would also say it has worked for me. This information has worked for me. It started off when I was working in the bank. I was in the finance and strategy department. I was called by one of the universities to give a talk on personal financial management at the individual level, at the business level. And I started by asking them, is there anyone who is able to tell me how much you spent on entertainment from January to date? It was in September. Nikatoa 1,000 shillings. No one did. Is there anyone who is able to tell us how much you spent on tithe from January to date? No one could lift. And I told myself, okay, you who is telling them, have you been doing it? Yes. And from that day, I remember it was 2016, I started doing my record keeping. And I would say, when I resigned from my employment and I started from the scratch, these tips that you're talking about today, in terms of the debt management and all these other kind of things, they really came in handy for me. I remember I resigned with loans of more than 3 million. Wow. And within a very short duration of less than 3 years, 4 years, it was less than 500,000. Wow. Yes. These strategies, I would say they work. Wow. If you ask me how much I've spent on tithe the whole of last year, I'm able to tell you. It's recorded. How much I've spent on donations, I'm able to tell you. How much I've spent on entertainment, how much has come from my consultancy line, how much has come from all these other lines of business that I have, I would say it's I'm able to tell. Wow. And of course, with that, individuals are able to tell, let me maximize on this area because it's giving me so much in terms of returns. Wow. So this is not just These are things that have been tried and tested. For the people who have been in debt trap, I've seen them walking scot-free in terms of debt. I've seen them increasing their workflow, cash flows, and of course, I've seen things moving in the right direction. I want to believe it can work for you as well. Wow. Yes. Auntie Jo is a financial management consultant. Can you talk to us about that shortly, as well as also how can we contact you on that matter? Fine. So I do consultancy in the area of strategy and leadership. I do corporate training. I'm called by organizations to train and consult for them in matters leadership, in matters strategy. At the personal level, we do life coaching. That is personal leadership consultancy. So if you're having issues with your personal financial management or even at the business level, kindly reach on us. We're able to really guide us. In the social media platform, you might get me on my YouTube channel, Joel Kobia, T-Jo TV. On Facebook, I do a lot there. You'll get me on Joel Kobia, T-Jo. And for those who would like to get into consultancy, personal, at the business level, I can also give you my phone number, 0732 075 805. Again, 0732 075 805. You don't have to struggle when you're surrounded with solutions. Kabisa. Absolutely. Thank you so much. That has been a fantastic episode. And thank you so much, Bwana T-Jo, for giving us that knowledge that you have poured unto us this wonderful morning. Mungu akubariki sana. Amen. It is said very few people do things that they don't have a direct benefit from. And leo umejipeana kuja kusaidia watu wengi wenye wanafanya biashara kidogo, because it has big money. If the strategies are put into place, there is huge potential. Small business, big money. Always know that whatever you are doing, no matter how small it is, it has potential for big money if you put the policies and the procedures into place. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. See you next time. Please welcome back again on Prayer Cave TV. Asante sana to all our viewers. We love you. We appreciate you, and we pray for you every day. God bless you, and see you tomorrow for another fantastic episode here on Uchao. See you tomorrow.